Pressure continues to mount on Justice Minister Thembi Simelane to break her silence on the alleged R500,000 loan that she received from the now defunct VBS Mutual Bank. ActionSA joining a growing number of voices for the minister to be held accountable. The party has filed an urgent public protector complaint against the minister, and to add to her woes, the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has also asked Simelane to provide a detailed report on the matter. Let's get more now on this, and we speak to ActionSA's Parliamentary caucus leader, Athol Trollip, who joins us from Port Alfred this evening. Mr. Trollip, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with a question around conflict of interest. Do you believe that Simelane does indeed have a genuine conflict of interest, given that she is the minister that oversees the work of the NPA, and that very prosecuting authority, one of the cases it's dealing with is VBS? Do you believe that there's a genuine conflict of interest here?
Good evening, Tolly. Thanks very much for having me on your show. First of all, I think we were the first party last week on Monday morning, after having seen an article written in the Daily Maverick by the same person who's been joining the dots between VBS and the EFF, swindling people's life savings at VBS. I want to shatter the illusion that this is just an EFF heist. It's not. There are many people in the ANC that are deeply involved. And the current Minister of Justice was the mayor of Polokwane municipality. And that municipality invested 350 million rand into VBS through a middleman or a broker. And as soon as the commission started flowing for that investment, the broker then made a loan, in inverted commas, to the mayor of around 575,000 rand. The loan was apparently used to buy a coffee shop or a bistro in Sandton. Now, as soon as we read that, the red flags went up, because first of all, the initial investment of 350 million was illegal. Secondly, as soon as the commission started being paid, which would be considerable on that amount of money, a loan was made to the mayor at the time. Now, you asked the question, is there a conflict of interest? Yes, there was a conflict of interest back then when she was the mayor. She should never have been taking a loan from a third-party brokerage that was investing the money illegally into VBS. And now, very much so, she is conflicted and has a vested interest as the Minister of Justice. So I immediately wrote on Monday to the Public Protector to ask for an independent and urgent investigation. At the same time, I wrote to the President to inform the President what was happening so that he couldn't say he didn't know anything about it. And subsequently, I've also written to the Speaker, because what I want to ascertain from the Speaker, because I can't find it in the public register of this minister's declaration, I want the Speaker to give me the details of the minister's declaration. Did she declare the loan? Did she declare the bistro? Because these are all the ways to prosecute a matter, and we need a public protector that's beyond reproach. That's the simple bottom line. We can't have we can't have a Minister of Justice who is implicated in corruption and impropriety. And secondly, we can't have somebody who is compromised and has a vested interest in her own matter, who heads up the NPA. So we want this cleared up as soon as possible.
The president, or perhaps I should say the ministers, serve at the pleasure of the president. Now, he's asked for a detailed explanation. Time and again, we are reminded that President Ramaphosa is a person who likes to pay attention to detail. He's a process man. Do you think that the president could afford to waste too much time on this, or perhaps have too much time spent on this as opposed to taking action? And for you, how soon should the president be acting here?
Ollie, I'm sorry to have to differ with you. I don't think the president is a man of process and detail. He himself has been implicated in impropriety, having hundreds of thousands of dollars, undeclared US dollars, foreign currency, stashed in a couch on his farm at Pala. That matter still needs clarification. So I'm not really interested in the president calling the minister to explain. We want an independent, above-board investigation by the public protector, and if she finds that there's any suggestion of impropriety, then there must be charges preferred, and the minister must go and defend herself in court. You know, having the minister defending herself with the president and then also maybe appearing before the ethics committee of the ANC. Sorry, we don't have any confidence in those processes whatsoever. There are just too many ANC ministers, past and present, that have failed that test, and we want this matter to be investigated independently and expeditiously. And as soon as that's done, we want charges to be pressed, and she must be prosecuted, and she must prove her innocence in court, not to the president and not to the ANC.
Does ActionSA have confidence in the Portfolio Committee of Justice, which is the committee that the minister says she will be appearing before this coming Friday? Because based on what I'm hearing from you, this is just almost a test, if you like, a tick box to say, yes, she has appeared, but is there anything that you think is going to come of the parliamentary process?
Goli, I'll be there on Friday, and all I can say is that is just one step, as you say, in the process. It will be part of the process to determine whether there's a prima facie case that requires further investigation and charges to be laid. So that's not the end of the story. That's just the beginning of the story. And the public protector has written back to me last week, I think Wednesday, and she said she would give me a response within 10 days. Now, if the public protector comes back and says she is not going to investigate that matter, well, then we'll have to consider our options. I've already spoken to our party leadership, and the next option for us then would be to pursue litigation. But also there are other parliamentary levers available to us, so we'll exhaust every single parliamentary lever available to us and litigate if necessary to get the minister to go and prove her innocence in court. I'll remind you that we had a president who has spent the last 20 years staying out of court to defend his innocence when he's been saying to everyone else he wants to go to court to defend his evidence, defend himself. But he's used every single Stalingrad tactic to stay out of court. We can't afford to have a public protector with this cloud hanging over her head, staying out of court. She needs to go to court and be heard by a court of law, and then to have a declaration by that court of innocence or guilt.
Yeah. You remind us of the cases, or perhaps the case that has been faced by President Zuma. That's the president you are referring to. Can I remind you of the 10 years that the NPA was mired in? Because what they are involved in now, as we are told, is a rebuilding process. And that rebuild includes making sure that the public has confidence in that institution. So how dangerous a slippery slope is this, where you have a minister who oversees the work of this institution, and she herself now might be involved, or could be, as I said earlier, mired in the very same VBS matter or case that the NPA has been prosecuting. Some people, by the way, are sitting in jail as we speak.
Yeah, I'm afraid, Paulie, that we are way down the slippery slope in South Africa. Last week in Parliament, there was a question posed to the minister about the fact that only one person has been successfully prosecuted so far related to VBS, I beg your pardon, to the Zondo Commission. And that's a Mr. Ayers in the United States, who was found guilty of corruption and corrupting employees of SAA. And the question to the minister was, and she did not answer the question, she asked her deputy minister to answer the question. The question is, why have we been able to have a prosecution in a foreign country of somebody who has been involved in corruption in South Africa, yet we haven't been able to convict anyone of corruption from the Zondo Commission? And that's a very good question. And my question was a follow-up question, and I asked that, is it possible or suitable to have a Minister of Justice presiding over the NPA and the affairs of the Justice Department whilst she has this cloud hanging over her head? So there are two options as far as I'm concerned. One, that she should resign. That's the noble option. And the second one, that she should be placed on suspension pending the outcome of the investigation and until it is finally concluded. But that doesn't seem to be the course that's followed by the ANC and now still even under the new GNU. It's the prevarication that we have seen all too often with President Cyril Ramaphosa. This doesn't require prevarication. This requires decisive leadership, and the minister needs to have her name cleared expeditiously, and if not, she needs to be suspended or she needs to resign. So that's what we're calling for. And if she's innocent, if while during suspension or even in resignation she can prove her innocence, that's fine. But we need some examples in South Africa. We need our elected leaders, and especially cabinet ministers that are appointed by the president, to be beyond reproach and to be exemplary. And what we've seen here is typical obfuscation. The minister says that she's prepared to cooperate with everybody, but when she's contacted by the media to provide the terms and conditions of the loan and how the repayments were made, nothing. So I can't even find her declarations where this is should be declared. So I'm now pursuing another avenue to find out whether the minister indeed did declare these matters before the investigation brought these allegations out. So it's tough times, I think, for the minister, tough times for the GNU, and we expect President Ramaphosa to act with decisive leadership, and we haven't seen that yet. Yes, I agree that he called her last week to explain, but we need more than explanations. We need proven innocence.
Athol Trollip, thank you very much for your time.